Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Saturday, October 24th, 2015, around 5:30 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. Dark out right now. It's supposed to be a nice and sunny day, but about 50 degrees, cooler than average and stuff. Brisk wind and stuff, and more leaves falling down. Some news to report: Boston Bruins beat New York Islanders by a score of 5-3 last night. Bruins are 500 now. And also, the Boston Celtics beat Philadelphia 76ers in the last preseason game before the regular season starts for the Green on Wednesday in Manchester, New Hampshire by the score of 81-65. And the Kansas City Royals beat the Toronto Blue Jays by the score of 4-3 to win the American League pennant for the second year in a row. They will be facing off against the New York Mets in the World Series, which starts Tuesday on Fox. And Joe Buck and Tom Verducci and Hal Reynolds will be calling the action. Should be a good World Series. And it's also Happy United Nations Day. And that's about it on the news. My first video subject of the day is about my review of Halloween Havoc 1994 from Detroit, Michigan. This was the 6th annual Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. The main event was in a steel cage match for the WCW World title. It was career versus career. It was Hulk Hogan facing off against Nature Boy Ric Flair. Plus, there was other matches on this card. And they had one dark match. It was Booker T of Harlem Heat beating Brian Armstrong and stuff. Well, actually, it was on the main event on WCW main event before the pay-per-view, which was on the Superstation TBS at 6:05 Sunday night and stuff. Wasn't a match to write home about, and it was really distracted because they had Muhammad Ali come in as a guest, and they weren't paying too much attention to the match. And these were the matches on the pay-per-view, which was called by Tony Schiavone and Bobby the Brain Heenan. The first match was for the WCW Television Championship. It was the Honky Tonk Man facing off against Johnny B. Bad, who was the reigning WCW Television Champion at the time. This was a back and forth match. You know, the ending had the time limit expire and stuff, and that was about it. After, like, the match ended, like, Johnny B. Bad grabbed the television title because he retained it, but the Honky Tonk Man attacked him and stuff like this. It was an average match and stuff. I heard something that the Honky Tonk Man was supposed to win the WCW television title at Halloween Havoc, but he had problems with Eric Bischoff trying to sign him for a full-time WCW contract. Heard something that Eric Bischoff did not want to sign Honky Tonk Man to a full-time contract, or I heard something that he was going to, but he was going to insert maybe 90-day termination clauses in his contract, because I heard Bischoff wasn't the biggest fan of the Honky Tonk Man. The next match was for the WCW World Tag Team Championship. It was Pretty Wonderful, who was Paul Roma, and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff facing off against Stars and Stripes, Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and the Patriot. The Patriot and Marcus Alexander Bagwell was the WCW World Tag Team champions at this point. And, it was a decent match, back and forth, action-packed. And ending had, Marcus Alexander Bagwell have Paul Orndorff in fisherman's suplex, but the referee had to get the Patriot out, and then Paul Roma comes up to the top rope, do it Midnight Express style with the Alabama Jam that Bobby Eaton used to do, and he hits Bagwell, and Orndorff pins Bagwell for the 1-2-3, and Pretty Wonderful are the new WCW World Tag Team Champions again. The next match was Kevin Sullivan facing off against his brother, Evad Sullivan. They're not really brothers in real life, and Evad Sullivan was a big Hulkamaniac, and he came into the ring with "I'm a Hulkamaniac" song. It sounded like a version kind of the theme music was do 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 do. Sounded like a variation of like Owen Hart's theme music in WWE. This was like a brawl and stuff, about 5 minutes. Evad Sullivan wins by counter, but Kevin Sullivan continues to beat up on his brother and stuff. They're not really brothers. The next match was a grudge match. It was Arn Anderson with Colonel Rob Parker and Mean facing off against the Natural Dustin Rhodes. This was to culminate a feud that Dustin and Anderson had. It started at the Bash at the Beach 1994 when Arn Anderson turned on Dustin Rhodes in a tag team match against Bunkhouse Buck and Terry Funk. And this was a decent match and stuff. Dustin gets his revenge by pinning Anderson for 1, 2, 3. The next match was for the WCW United States Championship. It was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who was a U.S. champion, facing off against Stunning Steve Austin. And this match was, an 8-minute match. Austin gets disqualified because he inadvertently throws Hacksaw Jim Duggan over the top rope. That's an automatic disqualification. Duggan retains the United States Championship, but Austin beats him up continuously and stuff. I don't know why they put Duggan the U.S. champion and stuff, because he was way past his prime, even though he was good for USA. USA was an awful move by WCW to give him the U.S. title. The next match was another grudge match. It was a Guardian Angel facing off against Vader with 7-time NWA World Champion Harley Race in his corner. Typical Vader match and stuff with Guardian Angel getting his Lexin and stuff, beating up on Vader, but Harley Race interfering and stuff. Harley Race was one of the most physical managers of all time, getting involved and stuff. He helps Vader beat the Guardian Angel for 1, 2, 3. Was not the greatest of matches. The next match was a tag team match. It was the Nasty Boys, Knobs and Sags, facing off against Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck, with Colonel Rob Parker and Mean in their corner. Before the match, Tony Schiavone called Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck the shock troops and stuff, and it was pretty funny. It was a typical Nasty Boys tag team match with a lot of clubbering and stuff and plunder and the pit stop and stuff. The ending had Knobs give a pile driver to Terry Funk on the pumpkin and stuff. It was pretty cool. They beat Terry Funk with the 1, 2, 3. And then the main event was for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. It was a career versus career match. It was Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, with Sensuous Sherry in his corner, facing off against Hulk Hogan, who was the reigning WCW World Champion, with Jimmy the Mouth of the South Part in his corner. And also before the match, they had Brother Brutai come down with him and stuff. This was a cage match. And there was a special guest referee. It was Mr. T of the A-Team fame and stuff. And this was, a horrible cage match and stuff, because this is when the start of, Hulk Hogan's ego in WCW started to get bad and stuff, and also with, the creative control and stuff. Cage match was, awful. Interference by Sherry and Jimmy Hart, but then the Masked Man attacks Jimmy Hart and stuff, and they also handcuffed Mr. T to the cage, but Sherry double teams with Flair with Hogan, but Hogan beats up Sherry, and he delivers a big boot and the leg to Ric Flair, and T count 1, 2, 3. Hogan retains the WCW World title. Ric Flair's career is over in WCW, but it was only for 6 months. He came back, and then afterwards, when the cage comes up, like the cage just goes up to the rafters of the arena. They had the masked wrestler come down, the masked man, and like Bobby the Brain Heenan says it's gotta be Arn Anderson and stuff, because like Ric Flair was best friends with Arn Anderson because of the Four Horsemen. But when like the masked man came, Hogan attacked him and stuff, and then when he ripped the mask, it was Brother Budai and stuff, and Hogan was so shocked and stuff, and Tony Schiavone says he busted the friendship, and then they had Kevin Sullivan come down, and then Tony Schiavone said, "Oh, I feel an earthquake coming." It was like earthquake, but he had to be called Avalanche, and it was a character similar to the one in WWE that John Tenta played, Earthquake and Avalanche, and they attacked Hogan and stuff, gave him the aftershocks and stuff. Was, a typical Hogan beatdown, and Sting comes to save the day. And that was about it on that thing. What did I think about this pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc 1994? It was a D. It was very, very awful and stuff. A lot of basic stuff you over and over again with some of the matches and stuff. This is when, like, the start of Hogan really getting involved in WCW, the way with booking and stuff, and Ric Flair retiring and stuff for 6 months, which was awful because Flair was WCW and stuff, and Hogan, even though the cheers what he had for like when he came to WCW in like the summer of 1994, but by fall of 1994. Hogan was hearing a lot of boos and stuff, and that wasn't that good. And also, like, him starting a feud with the Butcher, Brutus the Beefcake was awful and stuff, because Beefcake wasn't really a wrestler at this point. He was just basically standing around. Well, that's about it. Tomorrow I'm going to review Halloween Havoc 1995. I'll be back with that's only one more video blog today. It will be about Worst to First 1991 with the Minnesota Twins. How they won the World Series. And that's about it. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Drew Got a Guy. Molly Wilson bought a Fox 35 bucks. It has nice legs. Elizabeth Hart, so stunning, and has nice legs as well. In the words of Dr. Thomas Sharkey, this action will not be tolerated. BMHS. Bye.